Welcome to Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. Sit back and enjoy these great stories and memories of the Kingsmen Quartet.
Welcome to part two with Bob Sellers of Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Josh Griffin and Brian Hudson. Brian, good to see you, sir.
Man, Josh, how you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. I tell you what, last week's episode with Bob Sellers was a fantastic episode. A lot of stuff that I didn't know, which I didn't know that you and him traveled a little bit with the Kingsmen and sung together a little bit. I did not know that.
Yeah, we did about a 2-week stint there at the end of 2011, and we did a couple Christmas songs. I think there's a couple concerts that people wanted. They expected an entire Christmas concert, and we were like, well, we could do a couple Christmas songs, but it was fun. We had a great time last week with Bob, and so we've invited him back for this week, and gonna share some more stories with him. But in case you're the first time watching this is Behind the Crown Podcast. This is dedicated to the men, message, and the music of the mighty Kingsmen Quartet, and Kingsmen coming around 70th anniversary next year. 2026, and that's a great legacy. But we've dedicated this podcast to talking to the alumni and the current group of Kingsmen. And like I said, we're going to honor Bob again this week.
Yes.
And so, but before we start cranking off some funny stories and some behind the crown stuff, Josh, what piece of useless information do we have for this week?
It would take 19 minutes to fall to the center of the earth. Scientists have worked this out, but they haven't tried it in real life. 19 minutes to fall to the center of the earth.
Like if somebody dug a hole and
right.
fell, is that what you're saying?
That's what I take it as, yes, sir.
Okay.
19 minutes. Wow.
Well, I've seen some pretty big holes. In fact, there's a lot of, there's so many potholes here in Ohio that astronauts landed and thought it was the moon, so there's pretty big potholes up here in Ohio. So
yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, we share that every episode. We share a little bit of useless information because a lot of people, and mostly men, they have a lot of useless information in their head. For me, it's song lyrics. It's page numbers in the redback hymnal. Where I was raised, I'm sure you guys were raised in the church where they had the redback hymnal.
Yeah.
And 52 is Jesus Hold My Hand. 57 is Amazing Grace. 333 is I'll Fly Away.
114. I've never been sorry. Key A flat. Yeah.
See, Josh, you have a lot of useless information too.
I think 306 is Old Gospel Ship. Key of F. Yeah.
You know more than I do, Josh. See?
Well, you rambled off a few. That was just two. I better stop right while I'm ahead.
Yeah, man. That's cool stuff. But anyway, Bob, man, it's still good to have you back again this week. And we talked a little bit last week about the albums you recorded with the Kingsmen during your tenure and the songs and different things like that. So my question is, during your tenure, what was one of your favorite songs that you sang with the group?
My favorite songs always was I Know.
Okay.
Miss Isla Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ray and I love that one.
That's a great song.
Just about anything Miss Isla wrote was up my alley.
Yes. Yeah.
And she sent us that one and we cut it. And I remember the first when Ray got the rough recording back and we were listening to it for the first time on the bus. He had it going blaring on the bus speaker, and I was standing outside the bus. And I tickled him. I just took off running with my legs way up in the air and ran all the way around the bus when he played I Know. But that was always, of the songs we recorded, that was always one of my favorites. It went over everywhere. Everybody loved that song. And of course, any of the classics, I loved every one of them. And if I had to pick one of those, I'd have to say Old Ship of Zion.
Yeah.
That's Ray's favorite song too. Heard him tell about how I think the Blackwood Brothers also cut a live album that night in Chattanooga. And at the end, both groups came out and they sang Old Ship of Zion again. I don't believe that's on either one of them's record.
Yeah.
And I think Ray said over 60 people gave their hearts to Christ that night.
Wow.
And he said to this day, he just never seen church break out in a concert setting like that. And but that's, one of my favorites. And it conjures so many memories of our heroes that have gone on.
Absolutely.
Think of Ernie and Squire.
Yeah.
These humongous characters, not just in gospel music, but I don't think there's ever been any two men who better lived by example what they sang than Ernie Phillips and Squire Parsons.
I agree with that.
Never heard a bad word about either one of them.
Me neither.
Not one bad word. That's
I told a friend of that a few nights ago. I said, of all the years, even before Kingsmen days, I traveled with a group called the Heartland Quartet. And I traveled with Roy Trimble and George Amon Webster, used to be with the Cathedrals years ago. But I said, of all the years I traveled, I never heard, like you, Bob, I never heard one bad thing about Ernie, one thing about Squire. Nothing.
No. Everybody loved them to death.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Squire, when Squire passed away, I might have put this on Facebook, but I called him the Godfather.
Okay.
Not to his face.
Yeah.
And not because he was a gangster.
Yeah.
But it was because, all right, we're relaxing, hanging out, everybody at the concert or whatever, and Squire walks in the room.
Oh yeah. Everybody straightens up and straightens their tie. Yeah.
Squire's here. I mean, literally, the life that he lived, and the songs he wrote and sang, all of that just commanded such respect.
I agree
that he got a different reception from everybody in the room than anybody else. He just, when he walked in, he sucked the air out of it a little bit, like some of these big stars or coaches and stuff that you hear about doing that. But it was just the nicest guy on the planet.
Yeah, and his attitude was the opposite of that. He was so humble.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't a fake humble. He wasn't putting on airs to try to be super spiritual. You just felt, to me, I felt when you was around Squire, you felt the Holy Spirit. You felt the Holy Spirit. Just sitting there drinking coffee with him, you felt the Holy Spirit. You knew this man had a connection with the Lord Jesus Christ.
He had an anointing that
he did
all over him, and it oozed out every pore.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me ask you. We talked. We asked your favorite song. I'm going to ask your least favorite song that you had to sing with the Kingsmen. There has to be one.
There's
every time
really
they called it, thinking, "Oh man."
There's really not that I can
Really?
think of. I liked them all. There were a few that made it to a couple of albums that I was on that I wasn't crazy about, but we never staged those much. So
okay.
Of the ones that we sang, I liked them all.
Okay.
I liked them all.
Goodness.
Okay.
What was your tenure with the Kingsmen, your least favorite thing about life on the road?
Travel,
yeah.
I mean, period. Being gone from home. So if it wasn't for that, I'd still be there.
Yeah. How far did you live away from Asheville? That far as that commute every week?
489.3 miles.
Wow. Yeah.
Got it down to the mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had hair when I started. Let's put it that way. No, I was surprised Ray hired me living where I lived, and I had intentions of moving closer, or I thought that I would, but Ray told me, as long as you're here when we're supposed to leave and you show up and you do everything you're asked to, I don't care where you live.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start of a new trend.
Yeah.
In days past, they wanted everybody to live right there around Asheville.
Yeah.
And, but I was kind of one of the first ones to travel a crazy distance like that. And now there's a lot of people out there doing that. Several of the Kingsmen guys do now. Chris Bryant, when he was there, he lived nearly in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, long way.
And so, but that part was on me. The extra, had an extra 1,000 miles a week,
Yeah.
and so if we sang 200, 220 days a year, then I was gone 260, 270 days a year by the time you added in the driving.
Right.
And I told Ray when I left, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I love Ray Reese, still do, like a daddy. He's like a second daddy to me. And I told him if I could, I realized that I was reaching a point. I talk about what an honor and how great it was to be with the Kingsmen, and I know that people are always thinking, well, if it was all that, why are you not still there?
Yeah.
And so I'll say, well, if you're wondering why I'm not still there, it's because I started. I had 3 little babies, and I blinked twice. They were grown, and I missed most of it. I missed most of it. Every hospitalization. If you've raised a boy, they're gonna break half of everything on their body, fingers, legs, arms. I was on the road every time. My wife's grandmother passed away and was buried before I could even get back home. Stuff like that. And it just wore on me after a while, and I realized I wasn't one of those Ray Dean Reeses that I believe God just makes from the toes up.
Yeah.
For doing that over a term of a lifetime. And I found out I was getting, every week to me became like a West Coast trip. My fuse was getting shorter. Things were bothering me that really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I realized there was going to have to be a change, or I was going to bring problems to the group.
Yeah.
And I realized, because things are the way they are, anything that was going to change was going to have to be with me.
Correct.
I couldn't ask Ray Reese to book less dates.
Yeah.
I wasn't the one in charge of making sure everybody's checks cleared every week.
Right.
I wasn't going to ask him to cut back a night or 2 a week just for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I told him when I left. If I could be home and do this, you'd have to run me off with a stick. And I miss it. I miss the camaraderie and the friendships and the harmony and the stage and the big shows and big lights and the fans and all that.
Yeah.
All that stuff's great. And the problem is, and I tell this to people that ask me that are trying to get in to gospel music. In fact, I did somebody this week, and I don't talk down gospel music. I'm just real with them about what full-time travel's like.
Yeah.
I say all that great and wonderful stuff is about 10% of it.
Yeah.
And the traveling is the other 90%.
Yeah. All the, like you said a moment ago, all the things you miss, anniversaries, weddings,
every one of them.
Birthdays,
every one of them.
If your kid's birthday, your anniversary falls on the Saturday, well, we're going to celebrate Wednesday, or we'll celebrate Monday when I get back home,
Yeah.
And that's just part of the sacrifice, not just the Kingsmen, but gospel music.
And you do that. You have to learn to do that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it never affected mine and my wife's relationship.
Good.
I believe, as sure as I'm sitting here, she was called into this just as much as I am.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's had to do her and my job, for years and years. And oh man, I couldn't have even tried to do it without her. I could tell her right now that God spoke to my heart, and we're supposed to go to Eskimo, go to Alaska and start missionary for Eskimos or whatever. And she'd sit down and cry a little while, and then she'd start helping us pack.
Wow.
I don't deserve her.
That's a good woman right there. That's a good woman.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to Josh's question, let me ask you. He asked you about your least favorite thing about the bus. What was your favorite thing about life on the road? The camaraderie, or the
camaraderie. Sitting up in the front lounge with Ray till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. People may not realize that he's a vampire.
He is.
He sets up till 4 or 5 minutes. No, he starts getting ready for bed at about 2.
Yeah. Yeah, he starts getting ready.
And then he's actually ready for bed. He's brushed his teeth. He's flossed. He's done all of this.
Oh, yeah.
At about 5.
I remember about Ray. He would on his bunk. He had a middle bunk. He would lay out toothbrush, toothpaste, everything ready in order. And that's how he would get ready for bed. You know, he laid everything out in order.
Old military man.
Yes, sir, buddy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I never got out of
cool.
it, man.
That's cool. All right, Josh, what's your question here, Josh?
Here's one off of Facebook, and it's from my oldest sister, Amanda Griffin. If you could pick 3 other Kingsmen singers, living or past, to form a quartet around you for a concert, who would you choose? Of course, you'll be singing lead, but tenor, bass, and baritone. And if you want to put together a band of all the band members, do that as well too.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna make this easy. If I'm gonna sing lead, then give me Ernie, Squire, and Ray.
That's it, buddy. That's it.
I'll do my best Hamill impression.
So you just jump in there and hang on. What you gonna do? You know.
Now fill out the band too. Now don't leave out the musicians.
Oh, the old guys.
Yeah.
Greg, Big Jim McCauley.
Yeah.
Beaver, no doubt about that.
Gotta have Beaver.
And of course, Anthony.
Oh yeah, man, that'd be killer, son. Killer.
Oh my gosh! I used to tell Ray, man, I was born 30 years too late. I wish I could go back and just relive just a week of that, man.
Yeah.
Of course, I would never sung with them if I'd been born 30 years earlier. Because
when they hit the stage, man, it was Katie bar the door. I mean, they were taking no prisoners. Well,
I have a story when you have time to fit it in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
When I was a senior in high school, I lost a friend in a car accident. Pretty close friend, but not like my best friend.
Right.
This summer has been rough around here. My son's best friend took his life. And I mean, they were together all the time.
Yeah.
And so I know he's had a hard time dealing with that, but my aunt passed away. And that was really the closest person to me at that time in my life that I'd ever experienced losing. She would come over to our house almost every Saturday, and she and my mom and I'd go do something, this sort of thing. And I worked with a lady at First National Bank in Gordo. I worked part-time there with my dad from the time I was like 17 until I graduated college. But her name was Miss Fern. And back in the late 70s in Gordo, Alabama, if you can imagine that, they come home from church one Wednesday night, and their daughter had been stabbed 60-something times by the next door neighbor's son. Awful. Wow. And every now and then that would come up. Fern was over the bookkeeping department, and I worked back there a lot. And every now and then that would come up, and it was such pain to her. I mean, I can't imagine, you know.
Yeah.
But we went, my now wife and my mom and Miss Fern got tickets to the Tuscaloosa Firemen Singing.
Yeah.
If you remember those, man, everybody came. Of course, the Kingsmen cut their live album there in 1980.
Yeah.
Starts out with Josh Griffin's favorite song.
Yes. Yeah.
One that should have been released. Roll.
Oh, no, Lord. Oh, that's terrible. I'll forgive you.
The Kingsmen were there. This would have been 1993 or 4.
Okay.
Good.
But Wish You Were Here was huge. It was the song of the year this year, whichever year it was. And man, I saw the Kingsmen come out and Tim Surratt and all the guys sing that song. And I knew the effect that it had on me.
Yeah.
But I saw the effect that it had on my mom, having just buried her sister.
Yeah.
And I saw the effect that it had on Miss Fern, having buried a daughter like that.
Yeah.
And not because I wanted to make people sad.
Yeah.
But because I wanted to be used by God to touch people's heart.
Yes. Yes.
I truly think that I resolved that night. That's what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that story, because that's a question we always ask. Josh and I, we usually ask that every episode. What was there a defining moment that God spoke to you and said, "This is what I want you to do," or what, and you shared that with us. That was your defining moment where you felt that this is what you're supposed to do in your life.
Yeah. There was just a hush come over that crowd of probably 15,000 people, if you can imagine that now.
Yeah.
And it was just, it just created a moment that can't be fabricated.
Yes.
It was just so real and so strong and so powerful that I wanted to do that. And the other moment of that for me would have been my first year that I ever got to go to the NQC.
Okay.
Which would have been 2004.
Okay.
And Joe Brown and I, we sat up in the nosebleed section at Louisville in Freedom Hall.
Yeah.
And I can remember those groups coming out one after another, and I thought, wow, what would it be like to walk out and sing to 21,000 people?
Yeah.
And man, I wanted it. I wanted that. I wanted to do that so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And that God would allow me to later is just, like I said, it's just, I'm just very thankful and very humbled that I had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's right. Bob, speak about I know the Kingsmen were one of your favorite groups, but any other groups or particular singers inspired you to want to sing gospel music?
Well, I mentioned back in the last episode about going to see J.D. Sumner and the Stamps in that little bitty Methodist church in Gordo.
Yeah,
man, I bought every CD that they had out and knew them all, and I love them. I love them. I love the Kingsmen. I loved Gold City.
Yeah,
I love the Florida Boys. The lineup, whether it was Harold or your buddy
Alan Cox.
Alan, that y'all pick on each other all the time.
Yeah.
And Josh Garner, and of course Glenn and Gene McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
I love that quartet. Good. I had them come to my church. I booked them at my church one time.
Oh,
and
wow.
Josh, my church had paneling just exactly like it's behind you.
Yeah.
And they came out wearing suits the exact color of that paneling. You couldn't see anything but their eyes and teeth. It was hilarious. They were camouflaged.
Oh, cool. Man.
Yeah. I loved when I was little, singing with my mom. We sang a lot. Of course, I didn't say the cathedrals. That's kind of a given. Anybody that loves gospel music loves the cathedrals. We sang a lot of cathedrals, Kingsmen, Gold City, Heaven Bound.
Yeah,
Heaven Bound. When I was real young, was a big impact on me too. Loved Heaven Bound.
Yes. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, do you have a good Kingsman story for us? Anything that, and I'm hoping it's something we've never heard before, but I know most of the stories we're hearing from guys are about Ray Reeves. Something Ray did funny, but do you have you got a funny Kingsman story?
And I've got a bunch of them. There was, you can attest to this, there was something funny every day.
Oh, every day.
I mean, and
you had to find humor in every day. You really did. Yeah.
Ray, and a lot of people don't know this about Ray. That's one of the funniest humans on the planet.
Absolutely. He don't mean to be funny, but he's just funny.
Whether he's trying to be or not. Yeah. He's just funny. And I'm convinced that sometimes he was trying to be, and we didn't know he was trying to be. And he
made it funnier.
He was just, yeah. So you never really knew if he was doing it on purpose or not. That was what made it so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ray was always carrying on something. And but man, a good man. I've told a lot of people I don't have any experience traveling with another group full time, and I can't say anything about any of the others.
Yeah.
But and I know nobody is perfect, but I know the Kingsmen that I was a part of. Like I said, we weren't perfect, but we weren't fake. There wasn't a fake on that bus. And Ray, I know for a fact absolutely loves the Lord. And we never left, you know this, without everybody gathering around in the front lounge, sharing what was going on in our lives with our families, prayer requests, praise reports. And of course, Ray would either lead or have somebody lead in a prayer before that wheels ever moved. And so I always appreciated that. But yeah, he's a hoot too. One of the funnier things happened one time. We had done sound check. I forget where we were. I guarantee you Ray could tell you, and Brandon too. And this church had it had a 5-acre parking lot, paved parking lot. And there was one light pole in the dead center of it.
Okay.
And we had finished our sound check, and Brandon was going to move the bus, and we were walking through the church lobby to go back toward the bus.
Okay.
And so the rest of us are all standing there watching this happen. And he's so far away, we can't do anything about it.
Right.
Brandon backs in to the only light pole in that 5-acre parking lot. And it says,
oh no.
Oh gosh.
And Ray just goes, oh no. And I guarantee he could tell you, but we didn't make any money that night. We got bills for that for I don't know how long.
you were paying for a light pole.
Kingsman trivia: Randy Crawford hated the rain. You know what I'm talking about, Brian. I mean, if it ever rained, he was out of sorts. I mean, the rest of the weekend, hilarious. I want to move to Arizona. It doesn't ever rain in Arizona. I mean, he just hated rain. Maybe it messed his hair up. I didn't have that.
Yeah, that could have been. That could have been. You know.
That's funny. Let's see. One night, this Ernie came, and I think we wound up. He came twice and filled in for us while we were looking for a tenor.
Yeah.
And I believe it wound up being about 6 months in total that I got to travel with him. And that was the highlight of my entire Kingsman tenure was getting to be on the bus with Ernie. Such an encourager, such an awesome man of God. I've told, he's a little giant, but not just for his singing. He was just a giant of a man. And
he was
always telling all of us we were going to be Singing News favorite this or that this year, and just all shucks about himself. And at 63 years old, he was better than he was in 1978.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I mean, it blew my mind. And born completely deaf in his left ear, by the way.
Yes.
But I had a nickname for Ernie after this night. I call him the Chick Magnet.
Okay.
Women love little men.
They loved Ernie.
I'm telling you, they love little tiny men. And Ernie was 5'3", 110 pounds soaking wet. And well, I won't call his name, but an ex-wife of a former Kingsman member, came to see us one night in Nashville. And she had on a pair of high heels, which made it even better.
Okay.
But she was, I don't know, with those heels on, she may have been as tall as me or taller.
Okay.
And she was out there in the lobby and couldn't wait to see Ernie. And she grabbed him and pulled him in. And all I could see was
his face crushed up against her.
He was just sandwiched, but and of course he made eye contact with me and knew it was over. And we ragged him about that.
Oh,
she wasn't the only one. They would all just, I mean, they loved Ernie. I called him the Chick Magnet. I fired a bus driver one night. Old Daniel.
Oh no, old Diamond Dan.
We had been out on a 10 or 12-day run, I think. And man, I had an automatic timer within me. Whenever that bus stopped, my body knew that it was back, and I was getting in my car. It didn't matter what hour of night it was. Right. I was heading south to Alabama. And so we've been out forever, and I'm ready to get home. And we're stopped, and I start getting up, brushing my teeth, getting all my stuff together. I'm getting ready to hit the road. And I come out and peep out the curtain, and this doesn't look right. Where in the world are we at? we were at the Tennessee North Carolina line.
Oh my, you're a long way.
But you know what, an hour and a half away, maybe.
Yeah.
And Daniel was inside of Perkins sitting down eating.
Oh. I know.
You can imagine how that went.
Yes.
And man, I come across that parking lot stomping. I was fit to be tied, and I was uglier to him that night than I should have been. But I told him he was fired, but I didn't have any authority. So
yeah,
we went 2 or 3 weeks probably without saying much to each other.
Yeah,
But
I had an episode like that one too.
The next time we walked across the parking lot, he said, "Well, you still ready to fire me?" I said, "I guess not. I forgive you, Daniel." One time this is the Chris Jenkins story.
We
parked at this Walmart one. You know, Walmart's, Brian, I don't know what these guys do now that they're not all 24/7.
Oh, I know, man.
Like they used to be, man. I mean, that was our place.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't all get off together. We were going in and out at different times, and I was sitting up there in the front lounge with Ray, and Chris Jenkins comes back on the bus, and he says, "Lord, that's the biggest cat I've ever seen in my life." And he looked out, the door and just come on back, and we didn't think anything about it. And I got off the bus a little bit later, and there was a giant raccoon.
Oh my God!
Right out there by the store. And it occurred to me, he was such a city boy. He thought that raccoon was a giant cat.
Was a giant cat.
I think about that. I thought that was the funniest thing.
Good.
But yeah, it's just always something funny happening all the time. You got to keep it light. You got to have some levity to it, or everybody loses their mind.
Yeah, especially when you're gone that many miles and you're gone away from home that many days. You got to find humor. You got to find ways of keeping things light and keeping finding humor in the everyday life.
Right.
You got to do that.
Goodness. Oh, mercy. Bob Evan Bradford, I think he's from Alabama too, on Facebook asked, have you sang all 4 parts for the quartet? He's definitely heard you sing tenor, lead, and baritone. What about bass?
Not yet.
Yeah, but it's still early, right? It's still early.
Still early.
Yeah.
I was talking to Ray the other day. I'm going to be with the Kingsmen later this month up in North Alabama. And I told him I was going to take, tell him to tell Brady Jones to get ready. I was going to take his spot for at least a song and say I'd sung all 4 parts.
Yep. Yeah, we saw on Facebook a few weeks ago. You jumped there and you jumped there before they brought Harold back. Son, you was mashing on the tenor.
Yeah.
They said you had sung somewhere, I guess, earlier that day, and you
was
got there.
I was about to this shirt the whole time, but we got her done.
They said you got there in time for it to start, and man, you got up there and killed it. You mashed it.
Wow.
Well, I appreciate it. That was fun for a day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it more than a day.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, good.
Bob, you had mentioned a moment ago about, and this was going to be one of my questions about little Ernie. You talked a moment ago about him coming and filling in, and what a godly man he was, and how was that standing on stage next to him? Because I'm sure you're like me. A lot of guys, I appreciate their talent, gifts. Very few people I'll say that's a hero. Ernie was one of my heroes, and and he filled in for us for 3 weeks. But when Jeremy Peace left in 2007, before we hired Harold for the first time, Ernie came in and sang for 3 weeks, and I was like, we had the band still, and we gave him about 3 new songs to learn. Everything else was old Kingsmen songs, and I'm just in awe. This is Ernie Phillips up here. So how was that? And he was with you guys for 6 months or better.
I felt the same way you did, man. It was just cool every night. And there would be a line of people.
Yes.
Lined up to shake Ernie's hand and meet him everywhere we went.
And he probably took time for every single one of them people.
Yeah. Of course he did. Of course he did. I mean, you can't meet a nicer, you can't find a nicer guy. In fact, I've got one of the coolest Ernie stories. Ernie, there's a lot of people don't know, Ernie was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh, I did not know that.
About 11 years before he died.
Wow.
And told to get his house in order.
Yeah.
About 11 years before he died.
Wow.
And so with the good Lord, he had beaten that and was in remission when he was back filling in for us. Of course, what got him was it came back and came back with a vengeance on him. But when I left the Kingsmen, Ernie was already real sick. I had seen him at NQC the year before.
Right.
And he had been doing treatments and all. His hair, he'd lost his hair and all that, but was still singing, just still the same old Ernie, just a little bit thinner and had lost his, we had the same hairdo for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I left the Kingsmen in June, and I got a letter in the mail, and I've got it in my office up there with a picture of us with Ernie singing. And it said basically, it was Bonnie had written it, his wife.
Okay.
And said that since Ernie had left the Kingsmen back whenever, they recognized, the needs. They were sensitive to a ministry's needs. And every year at Christmas, they chose somebody to be a little blessing to.
Okay.
And they had chosen me that year. And
wow.
I got a $100 check in the mail from Ernie and Bonnie Phillips.
Wow.
And it came to my house. It arrived at my house the day before he passed away.
Wow. Goodness.
Cherish it.
Yeah.
Ernie was one of a kind, man. Not standing beside him on stage. I was just kind of always, oh yeah, you guys sing too.
You lose your spot.
Whole 6 months, I'm just there fanboying,
Yeah.
He'd get up every morning at the crack of dawn, running round and around the bus. I don't know how many miles he'd run.
Yeah.
Making us all look bad.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, Greg Fox told us. Greg Fox said he'd get up every morning and do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups every day. Every day.
I believe it. Yeah.
And yeah, he was a jewel of a man, And I know
that's the word I was about to use. Just a jewel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've seen him tons of times where when the Kingsmen, when I was there, either Jerry or Harold, and he might be with the Land of Sky Boys or singing with Squire or something, we'd be doing a thing at the end. And he could have said, I made that song famous. I'm going to step up there and do it. And he would always push the younger guys up front. He'd always push them up.
Yeah.
Let them shine. And that was the kind of guy he was, So
and he would always, of course, the whole time he was with us, we were trying to find a tenor singer.
Yeah.
And so we'd have guys showing up and auditioning, and Ernie would always just disappear.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to intimidate any of those.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember well the first time Chris Jenkins came and auditioned with us, and Ernie had squirreled away like he always had.
Yeah.
But at some point he came back in, and he was giving Ray the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Like you found your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jenkins is one of those that everybody's got a ceiling, but his is way up there.
Way up there.
But I'll say this, at 63 years old, Ernie Phillips could sing as high as any man ever has.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
He could still go up and bust that ending on Love Lifted Me.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Bob, you got to at the Kingsmen, I think was it 2022? I think might have been the first one, or 2023. It was the anniversary for the reunion of the Big Live concert, and you were part of that. It was you and Arthur and Johnny Perrick, of course, and Ray, and see Nick Bruno, Greg Fox. So, and you were asked to be a part of that, and that man, I'm sure that's one of your highlights of your career, getting to sing with those guys.
No doubt. The favorite thing I ever did with the Kingsmen was the Josh, you were there. The reunion we did at Singing at Sea.
Yeah, that was my first year on Singing at Sea, 2015.
Yeah, and, we had Squire and Jerry,
Brian, all of them. Yeah,
Trammell.
Yeah,
and that was cool. There's a video of it, and I'm just saying.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
too, man.
Yeah, you were there, Brian.
I was the same way in the crowd. Yeah,
all of us younger guys. We're younger guys, don't you like that? I'm just sitting there Chester catting the whole time.
Oh yeah, man. Get to see our heroes up there, you know.
But yeah, that was. I'm pretty sure Mark Trammell was their first choice for that, and Mark had something going on and couldn't make it, and probably the only reason he asked me was because I was in Alabama and close. But man, what a thrill! Gosh.
Oh yeah.
Get up there and sing those songs. I guess we sang every song off of Big and Live, just about in order, just like on the album. And Greg back there playing drums. And,
oh yeah, man.
It was very, very cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say about Greg Fox. And he told about in one of his interviews about Nick Bruno when he first started playing drums, would make him play with metronome, make him stay in tempo. And man, all the years, even since, that I've been part of reunions and things, when Greg's on the drums, I can tell it. Because man, that when he locks in that tempo, man,
just right in the pocket. Yeah.
And he don't get out of it. I mean, it's amazing. And
then starts doing the double stuff.
Man, just throwing stuff in. Amazing.
Yeah.
I think that right there, he probably doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah.
Or that was a huge part of that Kingsman sound.
Oh, it was, man. It was.
Back in when he started drumming.
Yeah.
I don't even know enough about drumming and music to call it what it is, but you know what I'm talking about. It was like the beat would double it when everything got big, and it would just send it into the stratosphere. And he was the one pushing all that.
Oh yeah,
he was playing.
Well, Bob, one of the big things about traveling in gospel music, especially with the Kingsmen fans were always known for being pretty good cooks. So during your tenure, what were some of your favorite things people brought to the bus?
Well, a girl in right here in Fayette, Alabama, just north of me, Tessa Patton, would bring a chicken pot pie.
Oh, okay.
That was homemade and would just make your tongue slap your brains out.
Okay.
And Alabama, period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
When we came to Alabama, by the end of the week, we were having to throw food away.
Yeah, that's true.
To make room for what they were bringing on Sunday. Everybody would, all these sweet little ladies, that had been following them around for 50 years would bring us a cake or a pie or a bucket of fried chicken and raised pinto beans and cornbread.
Come on now. Come on. Well, I do have a funny food story. This lady, we were in Indiana, and I'm thinking around the Bedford, Indiana area, this lady had brought a crock pot.
Wayne Maynard.
Huh?
Wayne Maynard.
Yeah, it was in Wayne Maynard's back door, She brought this crock pot of chili to the bus, okay? She put it on the bus, or she gave it to us. I put it on the bus, and it smelled a little funny when I first put it on the bus. We did the concert, come back afterwards, and I don't think anybody ate it because I think we went out to eat that night somewhere, and it had spoiled overnight. Let me just tell you, we got up the next morning, and I think it was going bad when she gave it to us.
Oh,
guess who was elected to throw this spoiled chili away?
The one that brought it on. Yeah.
Oh,
congratulations.
I remember we pulled up. We were at the hotel. got checked in the hotel, and I knew it was bad. And I said, I got to get this off the bus. And it was pretty nice crock pot. I threw the crock pot and the chili away. I did.
Man.
I had to get it off the bus, and Ray Dean goes, man, what's that smell? That's awful smell. What is that? And I threw the entire crock pot away. And the next time I saw the lady, she said, well, do you have my crock pot? I said, well, about that. And
no.
Honestly, I don't remember what I told her now, but but I said, well, I'll replace the crock pot. Oh, that's fine. I think she said, I got an extra one or something, but man, it was awful. It was, and I love chili. I'm a guy that can eat chili all year round, but it was a spoiled chili.
You don't want to eat spoiled chili.
Oh, bad.
You'd get some stuff every now and then. It was right kind of on the questionable.
Oh yeah.
Line, and we just
you're thinking, but
most of it was great. I did a lot of cooking on the bus. And I learned I brought sardines on the bus one time.
Ooh.
Yeah. The boss man put an end to that.
Yeah.
Ray is he's very smell sensitive.
Oh, he is.
What in the world is that? Oh, get that, man. Don't you ever bring no more sardines on this nut.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh, mercy. Bob, we'll ask a couple more Facebook questions right quick before we wrap it up. Your buddy Lee Mitchell commented October 25th with a picture of a chicken. I guess you know all about that. I'll let you, you know all about that. I don't know what he's talking about there, and then while you're thinking about that, Miss Megan Edgeworth wanted to know if the Kingsmen, would you sing a lead, would put their spin on your solo song, When I Close My Eyes Here. How do you think it would sound?
Well, that song will be awesome, no matter who sang it. Preacher man going on to be with the Lord, Brother Darrell Wilson from Jasper, Alabama, wrote that song. He had a family group. They're still going, and called Eagle's Wings. They're Christian bluegrass, and they are fantastic. Yeah. And I heard that song for the first time singing at their church one night. It was the first time they'd ever staged it, and I was looking for songs, and he was excited about me cutting it. So yeah, that was good. That's an awesome song. One of those big ballads, like I was talking about.
Yeah, you like your big ballads.
Yeah.
Song about heaven and going to heaven. Hey, it'll excite all of us.
Bob, before we wrap it up, tell us what you're doing now with your solo ministry and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I like to tell people I'm staying busy enough. Thank the Lord. Brian, you know what I'm talking about. Busy enough. But not so busy that the dog tries to bite me.
Yeah, the dog knows who you are.
Yeah. I've actually been really, really busy. I drove over 7,000 miles last month.
Wow.
And I'll be in Ohio, Brian, Sunday morning, Lord willing. Get the name of the town.
Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanon, Ohio.
I'll be in Michigan, and you'll be in my back door. Yeah, that's what kind of works.
Yeah, always. Hey, we gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go.
I've never had any big aspirations as a soloist. Probably a good thing. But I try to tell people, define your own success, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody else's success define you.
Correct. Yeah.
To me, I can't be any more successful because I'm able to be home with my wife and kids.
Right.
As much as I want to be.
Yes.
I go where I want to, when I want to.
Yeah.
And God is faithful to open doors and allow me to continue to do what I love the very most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And somehow make a decent living at it. I mean, who could ask for anything else?
Right. That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I got a website, bobsellersministries.com.
Okay.
And of course, I'm very active on social media. That's been so huge for me down through the years. In fact, Brian, you and I staying in touch, commenting back and forth on social media.
Oh yeah,
probably I don't remember, but probably played a big role in you asking me to come fill in for you that night.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
And as you know, get you in contact with a lot of pastors and music leaders and stuff like that. Be honest with you, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be on there. But social media is really an invaluable tool for guys like us, and Facebook won't be around always. Nothing is.
Right.
So I don't know what will take its place, but there'll be something. But
because pastors and worship people, they can get on there and they can find you and read about you, and they can go to YouTube and they can search your name and they can see what you do. But back in the day, when groups would show up, they didn't know what to expect a lot of times.
Right.
Now that they can research you, and so social media is a great tool. Can be used for a good thing and bad too. But as long as you choose to use it for the good, that's what matters.
Yes, that's right.
But when I left the Kingsmen, I didn't really know what God had in store. I knew I wanted to sing. I promised. I don't necessarily believe in making deals with God, but I did promise him that if he'd open doors and give me ability and voice to go, that I'd go. And he's done his part, and I've tried my best to do my part. I've had to cancel, I think, 1 week. Can y'all believe I've been singing solo longer than I was with the Kingsmen?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 7.5 years, which is
Yeah.
Time is just flying by.
It is.
We always heard it would, Brian.
Yeah. It certainly.
We weren't believing it. Josh, I heard you say you were 36. I was 35 when I joined the Kingsmen.
Wow.
I'm knocking on 50's door.
You speak of that age right quick. I'm older than 2 of the Kingsmen members right now. That don't make no sense. But anyways.
Yeah, and Harold's the oldest one on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harold's the old man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I gave him a softball lob the other day on Facebook, and he didn't get it.
Oh yeah.
What'd you say?
I believe it was my first trip with y'all.
Yeah.
He took a picture of me just passed out in the back.
I remember that.
I was worn out. It got me, and I just went to sleep going down the road, and of course, Harold took a picture, and he still got it to this day.
I've seen it.
And so I made a comment on there. Hey, y'all have got to give the old man on the bus a chance to get his rest. And then I even said, I gave you a softball pitch, Harold. I can't believe you didn't post that picture.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Goodness gracious!
Awesome.
My first trip with the Kingsmen, my first official as being named the lead singer for the Kingsmen, we went to Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah,
one of the prettiest places I've ever seen in my life. It's like a rolling main street, and you're surrounded by these snow-capped Rocky Mountains.
Yeah,
and I'm just green as a gourd. I don't know anything. We go out there and we fly into Seattle.
Yeah,
and drive somewhere and get on a bus that Jim Arneson.
Yeah, Jim Arneson.
Had lined up for us. And I'm walking down the hall, and I didn't know on that same trip with us was this fella, Aaron Wilburn.
Okay.
Comes out of one of the bottom bunks and grabs me around the leg and scared me absolutely to death.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Aaron Wilburn.
Oh man,
funny man, songwriter.
Yeah.
And I had met Aaron a few times before that. Of course, we had similarities, him being from Alabama and all, and we had sung with him a couple times. But man, that's another one right there that was a hoot. But fine fella.
Sure enough was.
He just acted naturally on stage and made a nice living. I mean, what you saw him on stage with his guitar was the way he was all the time.
Yeah, that was just him. That was him. That charm,
Oh, Bob, we'll finish it up right here. One more thing on Facebook. Jessica Griffin, my twin sister, wants to know who's your favorite Griffin sibling, and you ain't got to answer that if you don't want to.
Well, let's see. I got to say Jessica.
Okay.
Okay, come on now, Jess.
Brian, you may or may not be aware of this, but host Josh here has never shied away from saying who his favorite all-time Kingsman leader.
That is true. That is true.
And there's two of us on this podcast, and it's not me. I'll tell you that.
He has mentioned it several. Almost every episode he has mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah.
I do think he's told me I'm his second.
Yes.
Josh, I'll make you my second favorite Griffin twin.
All right.
Good.
Yeah.
Josh, you had it coming, son. You had it.
Well, well, at least I'm on the screen between two Kingsmen legendary lead singers. There we go, right here. Oh, goodness.
Well, Bob, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us tonight, man. Thank you so much.
Man, it's been a thrill. I hope y'all continued success with this. I've watched, I guess, most all of them, and I've heard a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I've learned some things from some of the other guys, hearing their stories and this sort of thing. It's just really interesting. I don't know if mine will interest anybody, but they interest me. And so y'all keep this up, man.
We will. And our plan is to bring you back again sometime, and we'll talk some more and tell some more Kingsman stories. And in the meantime, if you're like me, if you think of a good story, you got to write it down. I want to write this down because I'll need to share that again. So right. We appreciate you joining us, man.
And Brian, maybe you and I can run into each other sometime outside of a funeral.
That would be good. Unfortunately, the last 4 times or 3 or 4 times I have seen you has been at a funeral of a Kingsman alumni.
You too, my friend.
Yeah.
You too, Josh. I know you.
I appreciate.
I know you're playing in a little group now, so
yeah.
Just keep it up.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team.
We are, man.
That's right.
One thing about gospel music that I learned that bothered me a little bit is sometimes the old saying, "Never meet your heroes." Yeah. I've met some heroes.
Yeah.
That lived up. We've talked about a lot of them tonight.
Yeah, we have.
Squire Parsons, you name it. But I've met some that let me down a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I'm nothing special, but it was always such an honor to me to be with the Kingsmen.
Yeah.
That I never lost sight of where I came from.
Right.
And I'm listening to all these different interviews y'all are doing, and we all had to.
Yeah.
We didn't start with the Kingsmen Quartet.
That's right.
Full time. Man,
That's
we had some dues to pay.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when we were out there singing and we'd run across guys that I'd sung with before, just met along the way, I was bad about getting people up on stage to sing with us because, man, that, just like me, I remember the first person that ever got me up on stage, the first big pro person to ever get me up on stage with him to sing. It was Danny Funderburg.
Yeah.
Danny sang at my church. He had Harold Gilly with him.
Okay.
Stan Schumann, and his son Jason.
Was it Mercy's Way?
Yeah.
Mercy's Way. Yeah.
And they got me up, and I was so green and so dumb, and so excited. I was singing some part above Danny. On either I'm Still Started Living or Boundless Love on the chorus. And so I still got a picture. It says, to a great tenor. Danny Funderburg. I didn't have enough sense to know that that's Danny Funderburg. But man, that just lit a fire in me, and I thought I had made it. And so I try to always remember that type of stuff. And even now, Brian, there's people look up to us, and I'm like, why? I'm just
We're just trying to tread water and do what we can for the Lord, and He used it in spite of our weaknesses and in spite of our frailties, and
people don't forget how you treat them.
Absolutely. That's how we treat people. For sure.
And speaking of that, both of y'all have always treated me nicely at every concert and got me on stage to sing with y'all. So that was great. Thank y'all.
Well, I agree with that top 5 Kingsman stuff. Yeah. It's Kingsman fan stuff. You got to be up there.
Oh yeah, he's got to be up there.
Some of the others, let's give them a shout out on here. David Stewart.
Yeah, David Stewart. Richard Fife.
Richard Fife. Yeah.
Daryl Shealy.
Yeah.
Preacher down in Florida.
Yeah.
Brian Sanders. Yeah.
Brian Sanders was one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, but
a lot of Kingsmen fans out there.
Yeah.
You guys are up there. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. You know, there's still Kingsman fans today that keep me busy, and you know, I know good and well. I go to a lot of places that I would have never stepped foot in had I not spent that nearly 7 years on the road with the Kingsmen. And although I never viewed it at that time as a stepping stone to be out here doing what I'm doing now, in hindsight, I appreciate it much. That the Reese family, Brandon and Ray, and that whole organization. I mean, I try to tell them, but I don't think they'll ever really appreciate the appreciation that I have for them giving me a chance, especially me. Most people have somebody in their family that writes, or their daddy sang with this, or their mama played for this. You know, I'm just a nobody. And he took a real chance when he hired me, and I can't thank them enough. And like I said, it was all just a God thing. I sure can't thank God enough that I'm out there just doing what I love the most, and loving every minute of it. Hope and pray I got a lot more years left in me.
Yeah.
You just keep on plugging along. So you're doing a great job. And like I said, you know, hopefully we'll get together soon. We'll sit around, we'll eat a little food, talk about people. You know what I'm saying?
Me and you and Crawford need to find us a tenor and start us a scrap iron quartet.
Man, that'd be good.
Once every 6 to 8 weeks.
There you go. Yeah.
Eric Phillips is available.
Hey,
he ought to be saying.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Man, I've enjoyed it. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you.
Join us next time on Behind the Crown Podcast. It's been a great episode with Bob Sellers. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and also on YouTube. Follow and like Behind the Crown Podcast page on Facebook as well. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. If you would, please like, rate, and share this episode. Join us again for another episode of the Behind the Crown Podcast.